Hey guys, Haz here at Shield Canine, and today I'm going to be doing a video on how to start your dog training business. People ask me this question all the time. As someone that has started a dog training business from nothing to the successful, world-renowned dog training business that I have today, Shield Canine Incorporated, I am going to share with you some of the things that I learned along the way in how to set up a successful dog training business. So number one, this one, believe it or not, is a step that many people skip. Become a good dog trainer. Really important. You need to be able to do the thing that your business encompasses. And what I mean by this, I'm not just joking, I'm not trying to be frivolous. What I mean by this is that a lot of people skip this step. They do not have the requisite skill and understanding necessary to serve the market that they are trying to serve. And because the service that they provide is not particularly good, or in many cases almost non-existent, they inevitably fail at step number one. Right? And clients don't come back. You can always bill people for their money, a little bit in the beginning, but word gets around and there's no longevity in being a terrible dog trainer. The good news is you don't have to be the best dog trainer in the world. There are a lot of people that, in my opinion, I would not consider to be particularly good dog trainers, and yet they do have successful, well-known dog training businesses. Don't worry, you don't have to be the best in the world, but in my opinion, from a moral standpoint, I would say that you should certainly be good at what you do. Becoming a good dog trainer. Now, I could talk forever about how to become a good dog trainer. I'd say some fundamental pieces for this, right? Because I know about, well, you didn't tell us how to become one. That's a completely separate video. I could talk for hours about how to become a good dog trainer. Fundamentally, you need to have a really good understanding of how dogs learn, think, and communicate. And even more importantly, you need to have a lot of practical experience working with dogs towards objective outcomes. Now, what I see a lot of people do, and again, I'm not going to get too far into the weeds with it, is there's a lot of people that claim that they're trainers, but when you watch what they do, they're doing stuff that doesn't make any sense and doesn't lead anywhere. It's kind of like if I said, I want to walk from here to there, and I took this kind of long meandering route and I circled around and, I kind of did one of these and did a little bit of that and sat down for a second and then looked up at the sky, and it wouldn't make any sense. You'd be like, Haz, go from here to there. Straight line, walk, go, right? That's how you get there. That's a very simple example of an outcome that you are trying to accomplish and is relatively simple to accomplish, and it's measurable. You can see the outcome being accomplished in front of your eyes. A lot of dog trainers, and I use that term very loosely, don't do that, okay? They, as I said, they don't train to any kind of outcome. They don't train to any kind of standard. It's just kind of random stuff here and there without any kind of rhyme or reason behind it. And in the end, they get nowhere. They don't have any kind of meaningful program. They don't have any kind of meaningful results, and they are forever doomed because they did not accomplish step number one, become a good dog trainer. Let's just summarize what a good dog trainer is able to do. They have a good understanding of how dogs learn, think, and communicate. They are able to achieve objective outcomes that are meaningful to the dogs and to the clients. Does it matter if you can teach a dog to spin in a circle and shake a paw? Well, I would say to the average pet owner, the answer would be no. Examples of objective outcomes to your average pet owner would be, Fluffy doesn't pull me on the leash anymore. Fluffy comes when I call him. Fluffy is no longer reactive. Fluffy will lie down and stay down until I tell him he can get up, right? Those are objective, meaningful outcomes that will have an impact in the client's life and in the dog's life that are going to be positive. Being able to do those things, not overly complicated, not particularly difficult, they do require a level of skill and a level of ability as well as a level of understanding about how dogs learn, think, and communicate and how to action that information in your training with the dogs. Step number two, once you're a good dog trainer, what type of dog trainer are you? This is a question that a lot of people fail to answer. I get a lot of people say, well, I want to do dog sport. Like, I want to do dog sport. I want to do protection dogs. I want to do police dogs. They'll say stuff like this. Then next thing you know, you see them setting up a pet dog training business. And you're like, well, that had nothing to do with what you said you wanted to do. And I see this all the time, believe it or not. Well, they want to do protection work so much with dogs that they're telling pet owners with like average pet dogs that they need to do bite work with their dog, right? Because it's good for their dog. They need to do that bite work with their dog. And they're just kind of forcing them into doing what they want to do, but that's not what their business is. That's not what their business claims to be anyways. So you really have to determine what type of dog trainer are you? And does that make sense from a business perspective? Haz, I want to be a police dog trainer. Okay, What's your experience with police dogs? Well, none. I just want to become a police dog trainer. Well, here's the thing. When you understand, for instance, the police dog training industry, you need to have a lot of connections in that industry to be able to make any kind of, even reasonable income. And it's hard to make a really good income being a police dog trainer. You need to have experience either as a police canine handler or as someone that has been working with police dogs for so long that they're just well known throughout the entire industry and they're trusted. Also, are you in an area that has a lot of demand for that, right? You have a lot of police departments around you that are looking for training assistants. If not, how are you going to become a police dog trainer? Maybe you need to take some intermediate steps before you open a police dog training business. Hey guys, do you want to become a professional dog trainer? Do you want a certification that actually means that you can train dogs beyond a shadow of a doubt? Do you want mentorship from someone that's actually done it? Even better, do you want to be able to do it completely online? Check out the Shield Canine Pro Trainer and Certification course at shieldcanineonline.com. These are the types of things that you need to think about, right? Now, I want to be a pet dog trainer. Okay, fair enough, right? That's a bit more reasonable, right? I want to be an agility trainer. Well, are you successful in agility? Well, no, I've never competed in agility. Okay, well, let's get some of that stuff. Let's go back to step number one, become a good agility dog trainer, right? Whatever it is that you want to do, become good at that before you start trying to make money from it, before you build a business around it. Again, a lot of people skip that step and they're not particularly realistic, and then they become disillusioned and they quit because they didn't complete that first step. So what type of dog trainer are you? Now I'm going to assume for the sake of this video that you are a pet dog trainer, because that's really, folks, where about 95% of the market when it comes to dog training businesses is. That's where 95% of the income is. So we're going to assume that the vast majority of you watching this want to become a pet dog trainer. Okay, what's the vision for your company? What do you do? I'm a pet dog trainer. Well, what does that mean, right? What do you do? Do you fix behavioral problems? Do you do a certain kind of obedience? Are you a positive only trainer? Do you specialize in a certain type of dog? What is the vision of your company, right? What is your vision? What do you want to do? What makes you happy, right? When we get into this thing called dog training, there's generally something that pulls us in. For me personally, believe it or not, watching The Dog Whisperer on National Geographic is what got me interested in dog training. I thought, this is so fascinating. This guy is dealing with these dogs performing all sorts of dangerous and potentially scary behaviors, and he's going in there, he's figuring out what's wrong with them, and he's sorting them out. And I don't particularly care if you're a fan or not of The Dog Whisperer. In my opinion, he's a legend. I don't train in any capacity like him, but I respect what he does, and he's the guy that actually got me interested in dog training. For me, my initial interest in dogs was actually in behavior and behavior modification. So naturally, that's something that I went towards, right? So, are you a balance trainer? Are you a positive only trainer? What floats your boat? What do you want to do? Next question, once you've figured that out. Are you after money, or are you pursuing passion, or are you doing both, right? A lot of people don't factor these things in. Well, I'm going to specialize in dog sport, right? I'm a dog sport trainer, whatever that dog sport happens to be. That's my thing. That's what I do. Okay. That's a passion. That's an example of a passion. Okay. Is there money in dog sport? Now, for instance, I'm going to use me as an example. I love dog sport. Now, when I started my company, I wasn't particularly involved in dog sport. I did it a little bit here and there, but it wasn't my true passion. It has become my passion over many years. And while I do make some money coaching people that are in dog sport, and I would say at this point I am a world-renowned dog sport trainer, whether you want to agree or not, I would say that there's not a lot of money in that side of things. My passion is there, but am I going to build my entire way of making an income around something that there's not a lot of money in, or there's only money at the very tip top of the mountain, so to speak? This is a question that you need to answer. Again, we've already established 95% of the money is in pet dogs, right? So while your passion may be somewhere else, you have to be realistic about this. Now, you might say, Haz, I don't care about the money. I'm going to focus on the passion. And I don't think you're wrong to do that. I just want you to be realistic and understand what the outcomes might be for focusing on passion over money. In my opinion, the best solution is a combination of both, right? I think there's always a middle ground to be found. For me, it just so happened that what I was interested in initially when I got involved in dogs and dog training coincided with the money and the passion, right? Dog behavior, pet dog training, that's what really actually started me in dogs. Goals. What are the ultimate goals for your business? Do you just want to be able to work with dogs every day? Do you want to set up a multi-location conglomerate that brings in 7 figures a year? What do you want to do? What is your ultimate goal? What are your short-term goals, your mid-term goals, and your long-term goals? Have you mapped that out? Does all of this stuff that comes before align with those goals? You have to ask yourself that question, right? For me here, I have multiple locations at this point. I'm a world-renowned dog training brand. We have online training programs. We have in-person training programs. We have multiple locations here in Canada, and we're looking to expand probably into the US soon. We offer a variety of services that you're able to access both physically and virtually. That wasn't my goal actually in the beginning, and that's completely fine. Your goals can change. My goal in the beginning was actually, hey, I want to be able to work with dogs. I want to be able to do this part-time, make a little bit of extra money on the side. I had no plans to quit my day job, and I just wanted to be able to work with dogs because I truly loved it and I truly enjoyed it. It kind of grew into this thing. Would having concrete goals in the beginning have helped me? Debatable. In my opinion, for me personally, the journey was worth it. I wouldn't change anything about how I got to where I am today. But things have changed a lot. Dog training as a profession, as a business, was not nearly what it is now versus what it was, 15, 20 years ago. Things have changed significantly. In order for you to be successful now, you need to have concrete goals. You need to have a concrete vision. You need to know whether you're pursuing money, passion, or both. And you need to have concrete goals for your business, short-term, mid-term, long-term. Next, clients. Okay, you know what you want to do. Where are your clients? This is a big one. It's one thing to say, okay, I can train a dog. I know what kind of dog training business I want to set up. Where are your clients? Who are your clients? Now, if you know what kind of dog trainer you are, you know who your clients are. Or do you? I'm a pet dog trainer. Well, who are your clients? Are your clients predominantly male? Are they predominantly female? Are they families? Are they single? Are they everybody? Well, I would say that they're probably not everybody. Everybody has a little flavor to what they do. I have a little flavor to what I do. I would say that my average client, generally 60% male, 40% female, generally between the ages of 30 to 60, usually middle to upper middle class. Those are my clients. I know who they are because I've been dealing with them for years. This is who, right? Now, it doesn't mean that you don't have people on extreme opposite ends of the spectrum when it comes to clients, but you need to identify who the bulk of your clients are. Right? Because once you know who they are, you'll also know where they are. Are they in the suburbs? Are they in the inner city? Are you a positive-only dog trainer? Well, you might want to set up in the inner city. There's probably going to be a lot more people that align with what you want to do in an inner city, right? Versus, in the suburbs. There are certain things that you need to know about who your clients are, and you need to make sure that you are reaching them. Once you know where your clients are, how are you going to serve them? Are you going to do a location? Are you going to open a location? Are you going to have a big, beautiful facility, or more likely in the beginning, a small facility? Or are you going to be mobile? Or are you going to be a combination of both? Do the math, figure it out. Does it make sense? When I was opening my first location, what I did was I looked at how much rent I was going to pay, and I figured out how much dog training I would need to do in order to pay that rent every month. Simple math. I thought it was feasible. Turns out I was right. The rest is history. As I upgraded, I continuously did the same math, and generally speaking, I was right. Sometimes I was wrong, but by the time I started being wrong here and there, I was able to absorb that financially and from a business perspective. So you need to know where they are and how you're going to serve them. More on the how. When are these people available and when are you available? I see a lot of dog trainers, they have a 9 to 5 business. I say, but your clients are done working at 5 p.m. They're not available between 9 and 5. Yeah, has them real slow in the daytime. Yeah, you're real slow in the daytime because your clients aren't around. Your clients are going to be around between maybe 5 and 8 p.m. on weekday evenings, right? And now, meanwhile, you want to have shortened hours on the weekend. Yeah, we're only open, 12 to 4 p.m. on Saturdays. That's when the majority of the business is. You have to be reasonable about these things, right? You have to have a good how. How are you going to serve them? How are you going to, make sure that you're available when they're available? Are you trying to improve your game as a dog trainer? Are you trying to actually make money training dogs? Check out the Shield Canine Pro Trainer course at shieldcanineonline.com. Outcomes. Now, I alluded to this in the first step, But this is not something that enough people focus on. I think a lot of people fail right here. I'm a big believer in outcome-based dog training. A lot of people focus too much on fluff, things that really, like I said, have no bearing on outcomes. Are you getting your clients to the outcomes that they want? Do they even want the outcomes that you want? When I set up my dog training company, I had a vision in my mind as to what a good outcome was for a fully trained dog. I actually ended up revising that down a little bit because I realized that my standard was significantly higher than the average pet owner's standard. And they weren't interested, for the most part, of course there were some exceptions, in that level. So I came up over time, working with people and determining what they wanted, with outcomes that were realistic for them, right? So for instance, average pet doesn't pull me on the leash, comes when he's called, sits, downs, stays, goes on a bed, stays on the bed, walks next to me, does so on an off leash. Off leash for many people is, other than the recall, they could take it or leave it. Anything on top of that was gravy. If the dog's reactive, we don't want him to be reactive anymore, right? We can get into more complex behavioral issues, but I just basically covered about like 95% of every client you're ever gonna deal with. Outcomes, and how fast do you get to those outcomes? Does it take you a year to get to those outcomes? Maybe you might want to look into that because many clients aren't going to stick with you for an entire year. And then you also, in my opinion, should be looking at what you're doing because it shouldn't take you a year plus to get to those outcomes. Are you getting to those outcomes in a reasonable period of time? Is your process crazy and complicated? Is it difficult? Is it scary? These are all things now to consider. You have an objective outcome. Maybe the way you're getting there is not working for the vast majority of your clients. You need to think about that a lot. Your outcome is so important. Selling your clients the outcome is so important. But making sure the process to get to that outcome is reasonable is, I would say, the most important. And a lot of people neglect that. Now, of course, depending on your philosophy on dog training, there are certain things you believe about outcomes. For me, I'm a huge believer in objective outcomes. And no matter whether I get a golden retriever in here, a Chihuahua, or a Caucasian Ovcharka, or a Great Dane, or whatever, I have certain benchmark standards that these dogs need to reach. We're not just, holding hands and dancing through a rainbow. But at the same time, it's not a military academy, right? We're not super militant. We have to find the balance here, right? That's me. Now, I know some people, they get off on the whole, I'm wearing combat boots and fatigues and rah, 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 I'm a drill sergeant, that's what I do. Okay, fair enough, that's you. That's your passion, that's what you want to do. You've got to find people that align with that. Versus, I'm a positive only force-free trainer, we don't make the dogs do anything they don't want to do, it's all positive, there's no force whatsoever. You're going to find people that align with that too. And as long as you're aligning with what they want and the outcomes you're providing are what they want, all the power to you, right? You just have to be realistic about that. Last but not least, scale. Are you able to scale? Because ultimately the difference between you basically working for you, right? And what I mean by that is when you start a business, in the beginning, a lot of people like to use fans, I'm an entrepreneur, I'm this, I'm that. But are you just working a job, right? Yeah, before you were working for somebody else, now you're working for yourself. That's definitely a great thing. But if it's just a party of one the entire time, well, you've basically found yourself another job and you're your own boss, which is definitely an admirable thing. But if you ever want to grow it, if you ever want to make it more than just you, you need the ability to scale. How do you scale? What is scalable? You are only scalable so much. There's only so much you can do. Basically, you need to copy yourself. You need to make a bunch of copies of yourself because we're in a service delivery business. As dog trainers, we're delivering a service. How can you make more of you? You need to have a system. And I'm a big believer in systems, whether it's a system for cleaning your kennels or a system for training the dogs. Do you have a system for puppies? Do you have a system for pet dogs? Do you have a system for dogs with behavioral issues? Do you have a system that is easy to understand, that gets to those outcomes that you want to get to in a reasonable amount of time, and that the average person, and by average I mean not particularly smart, not particularly stupid, just the average person, that's a reasonable individual, are they going to be able to duplicate that process with, a reasonable amount of instruction from you? If you don't have that, and here's the thing, a lot of dog trainers fail here, they don't have a system, right? They might say they do, but really they don't, because you find that they do the same thing 20 different ways, and they don't even have a clear set of things that they do with every dog's kind of a new thing. And I see people kind of trying to make excuses for it. Oh, every dog's different. Yeah, every dog's different, but they all fundamentally work the same way. I always use the car analogy, right? Every car is different, right? You have a million different makes, models. You have 18-wheelers, you have Formula One race cars. They all have gas, brakes, and a steering wheel. The fundamental principles that you're going to follow to get from point A to point B in all those vehicles is going to be the same. Now, how they respond to the gas, the brakes, and the steering will vary significantly depending on what you're driving. It's the same with the dogs, but the fundamental principles of dog training remain the same no matter what dog you're training. So if you're doing something wildly different with every single dog that you do not have the ability to scale, right? And you will always be just you. Now, you might be very comfortable with that, and if you are, all the power to you. I'm a big believer fundamentally in passion. If you're not passionate about what you do, you're not going to be able to do it for very long, and you're not going to be able to do it well. So you have to make sure that you maintain passion through this entire process. Personally, I love training dogs. I love everything about dog training. I love the complexity of it. I love the simplicity of it. I love the individual dogs. I love the personalities. I love the challenge. I love it all. So anything dog training related, you've got my attention. I'm all in. So I can maintain passion through all of this. Whether it's a pet dog, a working dog, a behavior case, doesn't particularly matter to me. These are the fundamentals of building your dog training business. This is the fundamentals of how to start your dog training business. And where you go with it and how far you go with it will completely depend on you, your passion, and your planning process. Remember, guys, all great businesses have a good team behind them. If you're going to truly scale, you really need to be able to coach, mentor, and develop your team. And that's not going to happen unless you have systems that you can teach to other people. In my Pro Trainer certification course, I get into the details on how to scale. I talk a lot about the systems that I use here at Shield Canine. So if you get into that course, you'll be able to see specifically what I do. We're about to have a Christmas party here at Shield Canine. Things like that, right? We're to the point now where we have, I would say, 12 people at this location alone that are about to sit down and have a Christmas party. That's a big team. Took a few years to get here, but now that we're here, we're able to continue to grow and continue to develop what we do because we were able to scale and we were able to have systems that worked. I hope you guys are able to accomplish the same thing, and I want to help you. See you on the next one.